Lord, I just speak blessing over these men that are listening. Lord, we just speak life over them. We say that they're going to look in the mirror and they're going to see a man of God made in the image of heaven. They're going to see a good man and a great man. And they're just going to see what God sees.
My friend, first, you do not hear this enough, but you matter. Your role as a father is critical. Our world needs your leadership in your home. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you need to listen to this episode. It is so important. Three nuggets that hit me from my conversation with my friend Bob Fraser are: one, who do I believe people are? What is mankind? How do I see them? And then two, why finances? Why wealth? What's the purpose? Why does it matter? And number three, how to launch your children into their true identity and calling in life. Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, where I interview truly incredible, remarkable fathers gaining wisdom from their stories for both you and I to grow in our own craft of fatherhood. I'm your guide, Ned Shout, father to 5 kiddos, currently ages 13 to 19, and husband to my rad wife, Sarah, working on our 21st year of marriage. So yes, my friend, I am in the thick of it with you, and I'm working daily to rebel against the low expectations for fathers and create a world where fathers know who they are as they show up for their families. You and I have the greatest opportunity to impact our world through the way we embrace our fatherhood role. This episode is brought to you by the Adventure of Fatherhood, helping men discover their powerful fatherhood role and build their fatherhood skills. The role of the father is to serve, guide, steward, protect, and of course, find joy and have fun in the messiness of it all. My friends, today is truly an honor. My guest is my friend Bob Fraser. Bob Fraser is a 2-ton best-selling author and international conference speaker on both business and ministry topics. With one foot firmly planted in both business and one in ministry, Fraser's passion is launching people into their callings, helping to equip them to be successful in their practical and spiritual lives as they walk in the Lord's presence and become agents of change in their workplaces and society. He recently launched another book, which I am sure is going to be a top seller. We dig into this book and why it matters for fatherhood, for family, and why we are here on this planet at this time. Get 10 minutes down this episode and you're going to wish it was 3 hours long. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy meeting my friend, Bob. All right, Bob, welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes. Thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, super. Fun to be here and very much looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you for carving out the time. How old do you find yourself today?
You mean in my heart, or do you mean physically?
Both.
Yeah, 65. Definitely don't feel that. It's interesting how the years just keep rolling on. I think in 5 years I'll be 70. 70 feels really
That's
old, but I just don't feel old. But everybody else thinks I'm old. So
Do they? Do you mean wise? They think you're wise?
Exactly.
How many years you been married, Bob?
41.
Wow. 41 years, man. That to me is one of the greatest gifts you can give the world and your kids and your grandkids. That's incredible. For the guy, okay, let's just choose me as an example. So I'm halfway, right? I'm at like 21 years. So thinking back to when you were married 20 years-ish, what would be the words of wisdom, the thing that you would say to that guy to go like, hey, is you ready for the next 20?
Yeah, halfway through, you're probably really busy with children. And the problem is children can kind of become the center of your life. And it's really important that you don't let that happen. That I had a pastor tell me early on, he said, a family is a husband and a wife, and the children are welcome additions. And I thought that was so good. So we always built our life together. And so now when the kids are gone, and by the way, too busy for us half the time, we're good. We're good with that. We're happy when the kids come over and we're happy when they leave. So I think just make sure to sow to your relationship and sow to your wife, because that's forever, man. And kids, if you have daughters, a 10-year-old daughter, you're the biggest man in their life. And I promise you will not be. I promise you, your will be eclipsed. And there is a woman who you be the number one man in her life forever, and that is your wife.
Yeah, man, it's tough to remember that, right? It's like my spread is 13 to 19. So yeah, the days are full. But the best example I can give to my daughters is probably continuing to date and love on my wife. That's
Yes.
the example that they
It's
need.
the best example. It's the best example that you can give your kids as a happy marriage.
Mhm.
So many of the kids, young people don't want to get married. And one of the reasons is they don't see an example of a great
Mhm.
marriage and take time to make it
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So good. How many kiddos do you guys have? What's the youngest and to the oldest? What's the spread?
I got 4 on the planet
Mm.
and up to, let's see, 32 to 38.
32 to 38. Okay. And then how many grandkids at the moment?
I got 12 at the
Wow.
moment and 1 in the oven.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, I had 10 granddaughters before we had any grandsons. So we were like, what are you boys doing, man? Change it up.
That's so funny. Man, beautiful. And then what do you think? You think you're going to land at 12, 13, 14? How many grandkids would you estimate?
I think it's going to be 13 or
Okay.
14. So
Wow.
we're definitely towards the end of the that
Yeah,
season.
32 to 38, they're ready to just like get in the zone of lock in with what
Yeah.
they've got. Beautiful. And then where do you and your wife live?
We live in Kansas City, and we also split our time into Breckenridge.
Okay, beautiful. And then, we're going to get into a couple of the books that you've written, some, reflecting on you and your son getting to work together. But if someone were to ask you, your 30-second elevator pitch, what is it that you do for a living to provide for the family and then to provide for the world?
I'm a partner in a small private equity firm. So we construct investments for wealthy individuals, and I'm one of 4 partners.
Love it. And how long you been doing that?
14 years.
Awesome. That's awesome. And because I don't want to miss it, the times that I've sat with you, one thing that I just find inspiring is you started flying somewhat recently. And so I think sometimes as people think about, 65, they might be thinking about retirement and like easy street. In my time with you, I don't really see that as your MO. So with that, when did you start flying and what was the motivation around that?
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
So
I've
cool.
just always been an aviation buff. And, my father was in the Air Force and I love air shows. And I just always wanted to be a pilot and it's one of those things you never have the time or the money to
Mhm.
do. And I finally said, I don't care. I'm doing it anyhow. And today I just love it. I'm a pilot. I've got my own airplane and it's pretty much my SUV. It goes everywhere I go, and I just really love it.
Yeah. So inspiring because again, it's like, guys, there might be things you're thinking about and you're like, I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm 45, I'm 50. And you might start to let that dream die. I would just say, look at Bob as an example. Don't let that dream die. Life is long in a sense. I mean, life is short, but at the same time, you can do things. You don't have to do it now. So love that very much.
And make time for the
Yeah.
things. I still didn't have time to do it, and I just did it anyhow. It's like squeeze it
Mhm.
in, and if it's important to you, just make it happen. And you get a pilot's license, or whatever your thing is, get your degree or whatever you want to do. No one will ever take that away
Mhm.
from you. And once you've got it, you'll forget how hard it was to get it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Bob, I want to ask you this question, but I want to ask it in 2 parts. How would you describe the role of the father? And then after that, I'd love to hear what's the role, in your opinion, of the grandfather, since you have the privilege and honor of currently
Hmm.
having both of those roles.
Yeah, I would say the role of the father is really to launch your children into their calling
Mm,
and their true identity.
mhm,
There's so many false identities. The world is out there trying to give your kids an identity. Their peers are trying to give them identities, or, college professors are trying to give
mhm,
them identities. It's important for you to help them understand what theirs is, their God given identity, and to help them walk into it and to launch them into that. Everyone needs, I remember reading a book by Malcolm Gladwell. I can't remember the name of it, but it said basically that everyone who's successful has had other people help
mhm,
them. And I'm thinking about, this idea of the self-made man is, and I used to kind of believe I was one of those, but when you actually take inventory of the amount of people in your
mhm.
life that have helped
Yeah.
you, who was there for you, who helped you, who trained you, who encouraged you when you were really down, who who gave you an opportunity that you shouldn't have had? And there's always dozens of them. And so, anyhow, hear that for your children. And if you don't launch them, they're not going to get
Mm,
launched. And so to take the time to one, figure out who they really are, which is the greatest joy. It's like peeling the layers of an onion, and just layer after layer of who your kids are. And that changes over
yeah.
time, right? Your understanding of who they are changes, and then help them step into that, their perfect God-given identity, their perfect God-given role.
Mm. Before you answer the question on the grandchildren, and I know we could probably spend 2 to 3 hours unpacking what I'm about to ask you, but I think in our culture, when we think of success, and I've had the privilege and honor of getting to come to your house in Breckenridge the past couple of years, several times. I've gotten to sit around and talk with you. So I already know some of your philosophy around this, but I'd love for people to hear. I think a lot of times we focus so much on the launch. So you use the word launch. I also love that you said that you quoted your pastor and that your family is you and your wife, your kids are a welcome part. My question to you is, if you were to just kind of explain this briefly to somebody, on one hand, you are launching your son or your daughter in hopes that they have like a marriage and a family of their own, while also still building family legacy and connection with them. Because I know that you built this house in Breckenridge as a way to kind of get the family together to continue to do good, great things as a overall family. Talk to me about that. The launching, but not maybe fully separating. I don't know what word you might use.
Well, yeah. Well, to me, launch does not mean independent
Ah,
from,
okay.
from you. I mean,
Yep.
to launch means to get them
Mm,
solid, get them confident
yep.
in who they are, get them understanding what they've been made to do, what their purpose in life is, how God has constructed them, right? And having a career where they know how to make money, they know how to be successful in life, and to build relationships, and these things, right? So to me, that's what launching
Love
means.
that.
Someone who is launched is successful in every sense of that word, right? Successful in God,
Mhm,
successful in the relationship, successful in their career and their business. So to me, that's what launched means. But then, yeah, building a legacy, but let's partner together, right?
mhm.
And do stuff together too.
So that was going to be the next question I asked, is like, what does it look like? Because you said launch isn't necessarily independent, but it's not that you
Mm-mm.
want them to be dependent on you to help them make every little decision, obviously. But then you use this word partner. So what does it look like to partner with adult children or adult families? Because now it's like you and your wife are a family, and each of your 4 kids has a family. What does that look like to partner with them?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And as your kids age, your relationship will dramatically
Mhm.
change, right? As a 1 year old, you're pretty much you're a nursemaid. You're just trying to keep them from dying,
Yeah.
And then when they're 2 and 3 and 4, you're the policeman and you're controlling your children. And if you don't control them, they're going to go step out in front of a car
Mm,
and get killed, right? And so you got to control them. But then if you control them when they're teenagers, you will lose them.
mm,
And so your relationship morphs over time, right? And then you become a coach as they get older. And I believe the final phase, the last phase, is partnership,
mm,
where I'm not in charge of my children. I'm not in charge of my grandchildren at all. Let's partner together. So we partner together to do projects. We partner together to do good. We partner together to help one another and launch one another and build together, encourage one another. So we cross over to partner. And that can be a really difficult transition for some people. For some reason, my wife and I, it's super easy, as we saw our kids develop, to allow the relationship to change, where I don't have to be the boss. I don't have to be the controller. I don't have to be the answer person for them. I don't have to be Jesus,
mm.
right? Jesus, I'm not a very good Jesus. I think they need Jesus and it isn't
Right,
me,
right.
right? So partnership is a blast where
Mm,
it's like, let's do things together. So one of the fun things is, I've got a few resources. So, hey, let's go. I can help you start a
mhm.
business, or you want to buy an Airbnb, I'll do that. And let's do it
Yeah.
together. How can I help you do that? I want them to be independent. I actually don't want them dependent on me at all.
Mhm,
I want them fully independent, but I sure love to interact with them. And so I create ways for us to interact where I can bless them,
mhm.
right? And I can help them. I got a few things under the hood. I got a gift or two,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So let me employ that for their benefit alone. I get nothing out of this deal. I just help them. And it's awesome.
So Do you have any wisdom, just like to kind of plant the seed in guys' heads? Because there is this transition of like father to partner. I mean, you're still the father, but let me give you an example. Say you and your son are going to buy an Airbnb together, and you're like kind of crunching the numbers as a business partner, right? Not thinking like if you did that with me, it would be strict numbers. You're not going to invest into something that's going to fail. To what level, if I was your son, or let's just pick your son, he comes and he brings a deal, and it's like maybe not a deal you would really do, but you kind of want him to learn, so you do it anyways? Or no, do you kind of look at it more as straight business partner? I have more wisdom and experience than you. What are your thoughts around that?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a no in there. If it was a really stinky
For
deal,
sure.
I'm going to
For sure.
tell them, I'm not doing this, and I'm telling you, if you do this, you got rocks in your head. You know, but if it was a marginal
Okay.
deal and they
Yeah.
were really committed to it, and they were committed, and I would talk to them and say, "Do you understand?
Hmm.
Do you understand what I understand?" And I would do my best to really get on the same page. But if they were really passionate about it for heart reasons
Hmm.
and good reasons,
Hmm.
I'd say, "Okay, I'm down. Let's go do that together."
Hmm.
And because a lot of times it isn't just about money, right? A
Yeah.
business is about a passion. I got one of my sons is a baker. He's an engineer, writes code, embedded code in chips, right? But he's a baker. And his passion is making sourdough bread. He makes the best sourdough bread on the planet. And he's got an oven and all this. And it doesn't make sense from a business
Hmm.
perspective, but it is just a passion. And I want to bless
Yeah.
that like crazy,
Yeah.
right? I got another daughter who's writing books, children's books.
Mhm.
And, none of these things are going to be financial winners necessarily, right? I mean, they may not be losers, but they're certainly not going to
Right.
feed the family.
Right.
But I'm super pumped about it,
Hmm.
right? And so not everything we do is about money,
Yeah.
but I'm a money guy, and the money has to make
For
sense.
sure.
But
For sure.
yeah,
So then, could you take a minute? I believe that you guys, as a family, now that everybody's an adult, you come to the Breckenridge house once a year or something. What does that look like to have like a vision as a family, and we're coming together and we're doing some things? Like anything you can or are willing to share about what that looks like?
yeah, sure. I started a family office to basically steward this house and the family kind of wealth. And the idea is in this family office is a investment committee that figures out how to invest the money, and a generosity committee
Hmm.
that figures charity committee that figures out how to give the money away. And why not do that together,
Yeah.
right? And why not do it forever? And so we get together and we talk about our investments and we talk about our generosity. But the first place we started was to understand our family
Hmm.
identity. One of my kids is Benjamin and his wife is Laura, and they got five beautiful kids, and they've got their own little family identity,
Hmm.
right? So we actually had a speaker come up and talk about their family identity, and they have their own family identity, but there's also a bigger Fraser family
Hmm.
identity, right? Of we have some things too, and it doesn't take away from your individual family identity, your nuclear family identity, to be part of a bigger
Yeah.
identity, right? Ned can be fully an American and a
Mm.
Hawaiian, right? And a shout,
Right.
right? A full on. And you can be all of those things. So to actually mine those out, what has the Lord given us?
Mm.
And there's many examples in scriptures of families that had family identities, for generation upon generation upon generation, where the Lord gave them a gift. And I believe that God bestows on every family something that they're to deposit
Mm.
into the
Yeah.
planet, right? Something they're to bring into the family. That's both individually, but it's also corporately as a family unit, and it's also as a family clan, and it's also as an American were to bring something, to the planet. America is a gift to the earth, right? In many ways, so is Greece, and so is Turkey, and so
Mm.
is every other nation.
That's good.
So are the shouts. They've been endowed with something from their maker to deposit into the earth and to make the earth better. That's uniquely yours and uniquely your family. So what are those things? And it's just so fun to think
Yeah.
about that, because we have some real, in my family, there's a few things the Lord has really deposited in us that are just really unique and really cool and really special. And every family has that. So if you can mine it out. And so we talked about that. Our first meetings was getting each nuclear family, their identity, and having them map it out. And then let's talking about, hey, what's our clan identity, if you will, the bigger picture, and what are we to do? And it was just super fun to talk about those things.
Man, I love it. Guys, as you're listening to this, I would really challenge you to start asking God, hey, what's our deposit for the earth? What's our family on this street for? What's our family in this neighborhood for? Just start asking the questions, and God's a good enough dad. He'll tell you. The other thing is, like, I don't want you to be listening to this going, oh, well, that just seems out of my league on having like a family giving. I challenge you as little as, hey, kids, here's $10 for this week. What can we do good for it? $10 a week, $100 a month. And instead of just writing a check to your church, whatever, that's great if that's what you do, I would suggest peeling a little bit and saying, what could we do as a family with $100 a month, with $50 a month, and just inviting your 5-year-old into that. Your 5-year-old's going to see something that you don't see. God's going to show them something, and you guys are going to get to bless somebody with $20, $50, whatever. So you don't need family office to do this. Start where you're at. So want to encourage you guys with that. Bob, before we miss this, and I go to my next kind of thought question is, how does your role shift as a grandfather, right? You've got these little kiddos that you have influence in their lives, but I did like how you said before, like, you don't control them. You don't control how your kids
Mm-mm.
parent them. Your role has shifted, but it's still grandfather. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, I think I'm still figuring that
Yeah.
out, but I think it's really around making sure they have the deposits that the Lord has given
Mm,
us, right? And my wife and I, making sure that because we carry some very unique things and some very unique deposits, and making sure they get the full picture of the understandings and the things the Lord has given us around it, around a few things like generosity and understandings. And I just want to influence. I want to be there for them. I want to be a resource for them. I want each one to feel like they're my favorite, you
mhm,
know, and like they have a special place in our hearts. And I want them to always have a place where they feel safe and they feel understood,
mhm.
they feel seen and heard. And I want to bring them into their identity as well, but I'm going to do that through their parents,
Yeah.
because I can't do that on my own.
Mhm.
But I'm always looking, always observing, and telling them, here's what I see, and asking them, hey, what do you see?
That's so powerful. So the thing that really stuck out to me just now is observing. And I think dads, sometimes we're feeling so busy or stressed that maybe I mean, we need to do that. But as a grandfather, that idea, like, let me observe my grandchildren and then let me tell them what I see. And I'll speak even as a 42-year-old man who's been in your house, and you've pulled me aside and said, hey, I noticed this or that, or I feel like God was saying this for me. Like, those things I write down in my journal. They mean so much. And I think that as men, we have to know that our words, especially to somebody 5, 10, 15, 20 years younger than us, it is so life giving. It's like fatherhood isn't just your kids, grandfather isn't just your grandkids. You have like a posture of fatherhood that you can step into. Bob, with this idea of fatherhood, I love to ask this question. You can answer it however you like, but I like to ask, what's one thing you appreciated about your own dad? And then what's something that you wish he would have done differently?
Wow. Yeah, my dad passed away just a couple years ago, and I miss him. And
Mhm.
his generation, I don't think we hugged until I was like 25 years
Wow.
old. You know what I mean? That was because of my wife, who's a hugger. Remember her hugging him, and he was like, "Oh, wait, what is this?" And, couldn't quite put his arms around her. But then
Mm.
after a decade of doing it, he became a big hugger,
Wow.
and so she won him
She broke
over.
him
But
down.
she broke him down. But my dad he loved us
Mhm.
so deeply, and he would do anything for us. But he was the old school, he never really told you what he thought, and he just worked really hard. He worked 3 jobs growing up and didn't have a lot of words,
Mhm.
and it is funny. I got 2 brothers, and they both think my dad did a terrible
Oh.
job, and they really are angry and bitter.
Mm.
And I'm not. I think he did an incredible job. And I think he loved me deeply. I received his love. I
Mm.
received it fully in the way he could give it. And I'm not bitter for what he didn't give me, what he couldn't give me. I never saw him cry except one time when I told him I was going into the ministry.
Wow.
And he said, "You're throwing your life away, son." And he never understood me,
Mhm.
but he would support me with anything. He would give me anything
Wow.
he had. He would give me the shirt off his back. He sacrificed over and over for me without words,
Mm.
and that I so deeply appreciate.
Wow. Wow. Guys listening, I asked the question, Bob, because I want guys to understand that when they're 42 or 65, or sorry, when their kids are going to have a view of who they are, right? Like how they showed up as a dad. So I wanted to bring some realization that the way we show up each and every day matters. But one thing I want to challenge you guys with right now is Bob shared that his brothers were frustrated, but what's the story you're telling yourself about your dad? Right? Are you just seeing the parts that he couldn't give and kind of putting so much weight into that? Or are you also noticing the areas he could give and receiving that? Like, I love that, Bob. You're receiving what he could give, and then you're not holding on to this idea of what you wish he could have given. Because you can't do
Right.
anything about
Some
that.
ideal.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't do anything about that. How
Yeah.
how healthy and helpful to set you free to be a better version of yourself. So I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Bob, I want to bring up this book. So you just came out with this book, Invest Like a Billionaire. Got it right here. I read all of it myself. I read
Come
yeah,
on. Come
I read
on.
most of it
I
to
love
my
it.
son. So my son's 16,
Oh,
homeschooled.
really?
Yeah, we sat and read it, but I have him in this Keith Cunningham course with me right now. I don't know if you're familiar with Keith Cunningham, but it's like a 4-day MBA and then a 4-day class on how to buy and sell a business. So he's
Wow.
he's a little overwhelmed with the content at the moment, but I I want to bring up a couple questions I have about this book. I love John Maxwell. He did the foreword in here, and I love how right at the beginning he said financial success isn't just about wealth, but it's about the freedom to impact others. And when I mean, I've spent several times with you. What does that sentence mean to you? Because clearly, I think sometimes somebody could see, oh, invest like a billionaire. That's not for me, but that's not at all. The opportunity with this book is like, let me know the mindset and the strategy behind how to. But at its core, I want to ask you, what does that sentence John Maxwell said in the intro mean to you, and how you kind of see yourself living that out? That it's not just about wealth.
Yeah, I'm a very ambitious guy in my heart. And to me, that means I'm always want to advance. Every day I want to
Mm,
advance somewhere,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's just the way I'm wired. I'm not a sit back kind of guy, right? I'm gonna move forward. And I want to earn more money. I want to grow my business, right? I mean, you're a
Yeah.
businessman. You want to grow your business. You want to build it. And it does, the byproduct of that is more money. And I like that.
Hmm.
I want that to happen. But then as you get to be my age, you realize that you're not taking any of it with you, not a
Right.
dime, right? We came naked into the planet and we're leaving naked. And everything you have, everyone in your list will be given away. Every dollar in your bank account is given away to someone else, right? All of your reputation is gone. 100% of the things you've worked for, right? Of your influence, your reputation, your money is gone. And so what you want to do is you want to spend it
Mm,
now. You want to spend it now, and that means give it away, right? It means use it for good. Use your impact. Use all those clicks you get for good. Use all that influence you got, all your followers for good. Use all your money for good, and give it all away. And that's the lesson of Luke 16, right? In the Bible, Jesus said, use unrighteous mammon to make friends for eternity, right? And so that's the reality, is that, hey, I give $1 to Tim Tebow, and he was able to help someone out of child trafficking. And that little child runs up to me when I stand before the Father and said, "You were the
wow.
guy. You were the
Mm,
one that got me out."
mhm.
And I'm going, I don't even know you, but yeah, I was. And I want to make as much as I can, and I want to die penniless, you
Wow.
know?
I have chills. I have chills, and I it's like I can't talk fast enough. But the way that you answered the question, I'm going to talk about this in 5 or 10 minutes, but it's almost like you couldn't have answered the question the way you did without the foundation of another book I love of yours called Kingdom Horizon. Because I think sometimes, guys listening, if you're hearing like, I'm going to make a ton and I'm going to give it all away, you're like, well, then what's the point? It matters so much about what you believe is your role or your purpose here on this planet. Like, what do you think's happening right now?
Right.
Why are you here? And I know from Bob's other book that, I mean, a couple books, but the other one I was going to bring up is Kingdom Horizon. Understanding what God's doing here and now opens up the door of why you would want to make a whole bunch more so that you can have a whole bunch more impact. So shoot, let's just talk about it now. Kingdom Horizon has had great impact on me. My friends, it's 8 reasons why Earth's greatest days are unfolding now. Okay. And I just got to challenge you. Like, so Bob, check it out. I've got this page that you did for in your living room. It's kind of like, in my mind, a little bit of like a summary of Kingdom Horizon. I've taken my 19-year-old through this document. I'm almost done taking my 17-year-old through it. So I'm not going to talk about it. If you were to kind of talk about Kingdom Horizon and just like a simple inspiration about what's happening right now with the kingdom of God here on this planet, what would you say?
I believe that Christians don't have enough hope for the planet,
Yes.
and we are ready to exit. Right? How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, we just need Jesus to come back, and he'll save us from this or that, and he'll solve this or that"? And what if the Lord is saying, "No, I'm not coming back. You solve it." And what if he did his part? What if it is finished for Jesus, right? What if he has done his part and he's now handed the baton to us to go do our part, and for you to hand it to your children to do their part? And that's the reality. And so the book is really about hope for the planet. I show that the kingdom has been advancing for 2,000 years since Jesus started, this little teeny tiny seed that was unknown in history. Jesus was a nothing burger, a nobody in the forgotten part of the Roman Empire that has changed billions of lives, and he's not done yet. So it's really about hope and about his value system, which is his kingdom is marching on. And I'm a data guy, so I actually show it in data. But to go back to the purpose question that you opened this discussion up with, why are we here? Right? Most Christians really can't even answer that, except maybe to get as many people saved as you can. It's like we're on the Titanic, and to get as many people into the Jesus lifeboats as we can before everything sinks. Well, I got news for you. This is not the Titanic. Where does Jesus say this is the Titanic? It's not. And so the purpose he actually defined very, very clearly in Luke 19. He said the king was going away for a while to receive a kingdom and then to return. And he was going to be gone for it. He told them this parable because they thought he would come immediately. So he told them a parable. So people think Jesus is going to come immediately. He told them a parable. And the king, of course, is Jesus. He's went away to receive a kingdom and later to return. And he gathered his servants and he said, do business until I come. And that's the season we are in. We're in a 2,000-year season so far of doing business, and probably another 2,000 is my best guess. We're doing business until he comes. And so in doing this business, right, we develop, we grow. Ned, you've done business? Have you learned to lead people? Have you learned to solve problems? Have you learned through your business? Have you learned to manage money? And have you learned, how to create systems and processes? Yes. And okay, so irrelevant maybe, right? Or let's see for a minute. Let's see if it's irrelevant. So then when the king comes back, he gathers his servants to see what they'd gained by trading, it says. And the first guy says, your mina has earned 10 more. And you remember the reward? Of course you do, because you know the book. But people get this confused. His reward, therefore, good servant, is receive 10 cities. Now this confuses Christians, but what if Jesus is really coming back? I believe he is. And what if he is really going to hang out on planet Earth forever because it is his inheritance, which it is, very clearly. It says the Earth is his inheritance. And what if he doesn't want 8 billion direct reports? Right? What if he doesn't want 8 billion people reporting? What if he wants help running the planet, which he will? Who's he going to pick? Well, he's going to pick the people that did business well. And I don't mean just business. I mean, it means whatever your business is, right? Whatever you have, whatever you've been given. You're a pastor, if you're an artist, you do it as unto the Lord. You basically multiply what you've been given. And the ones who have engaged the planet well, They've learned how to treat people. They've learned how to lead. They've learned how to solve problems. They've learned how to do all these things, right? And if one of your kids was actually going to be king, what stuff would you want them to know?
Yeah.
Well, you want them to solve problems.
Mhm.
You'd want them to know how to lead people. You want to know how to do conflict resolution. You want them to know how to manage money. You want them to know how to organize people and things and processes. What the bottom line is, this earth is a giant training ground for eternity, which is the kingdom on earth.
Mhm.
And so we are little kings in training and little queens in training to rule and reign with Jesus Christ. And there's a dozen scriptures about us ruling and reigning with Christ. And it's not talking about heaven. It's talking about planet Earth. And so again, this has probably blown a lot of people's minds, but it's all in the Bible. It's 100% scripture for everything I've just said. And it's unequivocally clear scripture for everything that's said, which says when he's coming back, Jesus is coming back to the earth. He's coming back with all the saints and all the angels.
Mhm.
Two scriptures say this. And he's coming back to establish his kingdom on earth, as we've been praying for probably 1,000,000,000,000 times, right?
Yeah.
Your will be done. Your
Mhm.
kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. It will be answered. Its kingdom is fully coming to the planet, and he will be king, and we will be little kings under the King of Kings. And so he's discipling us right now for this. And so it matters what we do. And then he goes on in Luke 19 to talk about wealth. And he calls wealth this very little thing. 3 times in Luke, he calls money a very little thing. But he says, if you're not faithful with this very little thing called money, who will give you true riches, which is the rulership of reigning with Christ and partnership with Jesus Christ forever, and partnering with him in this new kingdom. And so money and the way you treat money actually determines your destiny to a measure in the future.
Man, it gets me so excited. Like this makes our faith so exciting. And guys, as you're listening to this, I really challenge you, like, get Kingdom Horizon, like 2 chapters, just to throw it out there, that I love, is the world is getting better. It's like, wait, what? That kind of challenges a lot of what we're told, like the whole Titanic situation, right? And then God's kingdom is steadily advancing. It's advancing. And then what I love about it is, like, Bob is not just giving his interpretation on scripture. There's so many charts in there about homicide rates are less than they've ever been. Slavery is less than it's ever been. Poverty is less than it's ever been. So it's like, do I want to be a part of that story that's helping those things to decrease? Do I want to be a part of what's happening? Because God is looking for guys like you and I, number one, to lead well in our homes, right? Start there. And that's kind of, Bob, why I started this podcast. My thought was, if every man just led well in his home, his God-given ability, like the world would just already like look way different. All those things would decrease: homelessness, prison, drugs, teen pregnancy. I mean, list the things, right? When you look at the statistics around fatherhood alone, it would be way, way, way less. So fathers, like, it's kind of cool. Right now we are in the middle of Advent. It's almost Christmas. It's December 11th today. And hope is a big component to this Advent, this idea of Christ coming and celebrating Christmas. And I think many of us struggle with hope, but this will give you a foundation for hope, for sure.
Wow. Yeah, it will. It will.
We need that because we've been living off of faith a lot. Faith is great, but faith can also be like, I'm just kind of sitting and waiting for the lifeboat, versus hoping that there's a reason why I'm here and participating in something really awesome. Okay, so coming back to invest like a billionaire, right? Now that we have that, that's like the foundation for like, okay, now I want to go make money and do good and be part of this advancing kingdom. And this other really cool component to it that I love is, you made the comment, maybe Jesus comes back in another 2,000 years. So if that's the case, what I love about this right now is this book doesn't just say written by Bob Fraser. Like, Bob Fraser did a great job while he was in his, 100 years in this next 2,000. But we have Ben Fraser's name on it. We have your son's name, co-author, work together on this. So there's not just this thought of, I'm going to make as much as I possibly can and I'm going to give it away and my name's going to be on like a bunch of signs around town because Bob gave this all away. Yes, but also you're passing this to Ben, and then he's going to be passing it to his kid and his kid. So talk to me about that partnership with your son and that passing down of this belief as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's, so I put a lot of my assets and the things that, my wealth into a C corporation that my kids are in charge of.
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually control it. Joseph controlled Pharaoh's wealth, but he couldn't spend it on himself. And so I've kind of built
Mm-hmm.
a similar situation where they can determine how the money is given and how it's invested, and they can get something for themselves, but it isn't about them doing that. So it's about a common purpose for 100 and 1,000 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And about achieving this purpose for which we set forth and doing it together. And yeah, I hope. I had a dream years ago that that a third of the grandkids would work in the business and a third of the grandkids would work on the charity side. And it'd be fun. It'd be a blast. And I want my whole family generation to really get this. And when your kids get married, you don't control who they get married, as much as you would
Right.
want to, and you don't control who they get married to. And so you're bringing a whole new set of
Mm-hmm.
values into the family. And do they understand all these things? And the answer is they don't. And so what I'm using is these family times to, these meetings these gatherings where we're presenting these ideas and discussing
Mm-hmm.
them and helping them adopt them as well and make them part of their life for the next generation, right? These things are, we're to teach these things to the next generations.
Mm-hmm.
And in Deuteronomy, they're instructed to teach to the next generations. And I think that is one of the main roles of grandfathers and
Mm-hmm.
grandmothers, is to teach the next generation.
Do you have any wisdom around holding that loosely? Like, in the sense of, okay, I have four families now that are in my home. Four of these kids are my blood, and then they have, other value, their spouses have some other values. And obviously, hopefully they're somewhat similar. But do you find more that it's that you're wanting to help their new spouse or their spouse, whatever, come into the family and it's just like, this is how we do it? Or, and is it also like you're also being shaped and formed by the values they may be bringing in?
So did God instill all of his good ideas in me alone? And all of his positive
Right.
DNA in me? I'm the only carrier of those things? Well, that's pretty
That's
arrogant.
good. Yeah.
What I really believe is that every single individual is truly created by God,
Mm-hmm.
and they're uniquely beautiful. And that if we were to peel back pick a random human being and peel back, and if you were to see them as God saw them, you would be tempted to fall down and worship them because they're
Wow.
so beautiful
Wow.
and so perfect. That's what I believe. And so when God gives me two or three of those and to join the family,
Mm-hmm.
what's my attitude going to be? Wow,
Wow. Yeah.
what a unique snowflake you are.
Mm-hmm.
And what uniquely beautiful things are you to contribute to us? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's God's plan, right? So he brought new DNA, and I've got a few things in my DNA that are pretty good deposits, pretty deep and pretty sweet. But so do they,
Yeah.
right? And so then God's perfect thing is he does this blender called a family, and he blends up this DNA and all this beauty, and he creates a whole new set of rainbows and snowflakes out of it, right? And that are all unique and beautiful in their own way. So it's really a discovery. And when I say, you understand when I said launching kids in their identity, maybe what I really mean by that is understanding their true beauty and how they've truly been created
Mm-hmm.
to bring forth God uniquely. I mean, the fact that every snowflake is different, every human being is different and designed by God, his handiwork. He was saying something. He wanted to say something to the earth when he created you.
A couple things going through my head. One, my eyes are full of tears right now. I think coming to the realization too is going back to the observing, just hearing the way that you're talking. Guys, how are you observing yourself? What lens are you
Mm.
seeing yourself through? Because that's going to hold you down if you don't choose to start to see
Oh, yeah.
yourself the way God does. And then as like a podcast host, I'm like wrestling. I want to talk about Invest Like a Billionaire, but I think the beauty is hearing your passion is unlocking the why this book was written. And I want to share this because I think a lot of times we see a book and we're like, okay, what do they want from me? Or what's the hook? It's like, you didn't write this because you want to make a bunch of
Mm-mm.
money. You don't need any more money and you don't need this book to do that.
Nope.
because I think many of us believe like I got to hold my secrets so that I can progress for me. But if you truly believe that the kingdom is what it is, this is like a, so I want to ask your opinion. This book is mindset shift, strategy shift on a high level to help more of us be able to step into generosity in a way that we may not be today. And then to
Hmm.
open up the playbooks around like private alternatives. It's not just stocks and bonds and real estate. There's like a whole bunch more of opportunity
Right.
to it. So I mean, guys, that's what this is. And my challenge to you is like, go read it. You might not understand all of it, but start to subject yourself to it. And how can you invite your teenage son into it, your teenage daughter, your college age? Like, hey, you got a 22-year-old daughter, read it with her. Hey, I'm trying to learn something new. Let's go read this together. So, any other thoughts on the reasoning, the purpose, the opportunity behind this?
You know, I got wiped out twice by the public markets, and most investors are just in the stock market. And it's got some strengths, but it is a ruthless, brutal place.
Mm,
And the billionaires don't invest all their wealth in it, right? The billionaires put 20 to 30% of the public markets and 50% in private alternatives. And they make more money and they take less risk. And my heart is that individual investors would be able to do
mhm,
this, right? Make more money and take less risk
mhm.
and not have to be wiped out by the public markets and the crashes that inevitably come. And so I'm just passionate about it. And I hope people really learn the playbook of the wealthy and learn how to do this, because I would like believers to be the wealthiest guys on the planet. We should be the ones that are the big check writers
Mhm.
and the business launchers and the benevolence people, the givers, and the politicians, the people that buy the politicians and make them do good, and whatever, right? We should be the
Mhm.
influencers, right? And not just if you look at our Jewish fathers, Jews are a 0.2% of the world population, yet they're 25% of the world's Nobel
Yeah.
laureates.
Wow.
25%. And they're 60% of the world's bankers. They're 60% of Hollywood. You know, look at the influence. That should be us,
Mhm.
right? And so I want Christians to be wealthy. I want Christians to be wealthy because it gives us power. And who is better to wield power than people with a heart of
Mm.
God?
Oh, so good. And guys, I want to challenge you. If you're 40, 50, you're in your career and you're like, that's just think about your grandkid. And I'm not saying you have to go figure it all out, but go start to educate yourself, start to put yourself with around other people, teach your kids, teach your grandkids, and start to think a little bit more generationally versus just what can I do in the next 2 years or 5 years? Like this is a long game. Let's just say Jesus is coming back in 2,000 years. We're just kind of making this up at the moment. But if you have that mindset and live that way, right? We'd be serving our world better if we lived as though Jesus was coming back in 2,000 years versus in the next 20 days, right? Like, let's start to do
Right.
good. Jesus isn't going to come back and say, I wish you weren't thinking so generationally to help future people. You know what I mean? I mean, come on now. Ah, oh, so good.
Yeah, God's playing the long game, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
It's been 2,000 years. And, everybody thought, the first century Christians thought he was coming back right away. He didn't. He is playing the long game. Well, let's play the long
Plays the
game.
long game. Bob, I could talk to you for another hour. Is there anything that you would say to fathers listening to this now, whether, anything from you that you would want to make sure we didn't miss to pass to them?
Yeah, I think Christians have this idea that, we raise our kids until they're
Mm,
18, and I'm rebelling against
okay.
that. God didn't say you're done when they're 18. You're still their father. And so build that relationship and build for the long game with your kids. Build the forever game, right? They're going to be your kids even in heaven, right? You're still going to have that eternal relationship. And so build stuff together and don't just try to be done with raising kids. And the other thing that hit me, too, is be patient with your kids, in the true meaning of the biblical word patience. When it says, the nine fruits of the spirit, it says patience. The word is actually long suffering.
Mm,
And in the Greek, it really is endurance. And it means endure with one another, endure with humans is what it means,
mm,
endure long. And I didn't have all the easiest children. And there was periods in my life when I'm looking at my kids going, I don't think they're going to amount to anything.
mm.
secretly. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, this kid it's not going to work out.
Mhm.
This kid is not going to make it. And today, I am absolutely flabbergasted and impressed with each one of my children. I mean that. They are mind-blowingly
Mhm.
amazing. And so bear with your children. Who they are has not yet become
Mhm.
evident. It's not yet become evident. And most of them will continue to develop even into their 20s and
Yeah.
30s. So just
So,
chill, be patient.
okay.
Yeah, they're kind of a mess. They're kind of confused. They're kind of ridiculous. They're kind of stupid. And they will get over all of those things just like you did.
In your opinion, how do you endure? How do you show up in those seasons in a way not to cause more damage or to lengthen the time that they're going to be in the phase?
Whatever you do, don't be disappointed in them.
That's so
Don't let
rich.
it land. Don't let it land. If they look in your eyes and they just see disappointment, how do you think they're going to look in the mirror?
Mm.
And so it's so important. Don't just have the bigger picture. Just remember how stupid you were when you were their age and
Yeah.
that you outgrew it, and just smile, laugh, and remind yourself of the good. Observe the good. Observe who they
There
are
it is.
and call it
There it
forth
is.
again.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Bob, one of the things that I love about kind of being around you is, and some of the other guys that you're with, is this idea of like blessing. Would you speak of life blessing into the guys who are listening to this right now? As they walk away, they'd walk away with a blessing from Bob.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So, Lord, I just speak blessing over these men that are listening. Lord, we just speak life over them. We say that they're going to look in the mirror and they're going to see a man of God made in the image of heaven. They're going to see a good man and a great man. And they're just going to see what God sees. And they're going to become great fathers, looking at their children and seeing what God has made, the wonder that he has made, and what was in his mind and what he was thinking when he made them, and the greatness of each individual and the beauty of each child. I just speak hope. I speak prosperity. I speak life over each one of them in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, Bob, you guys have a podcast, Invest Like a Billionaire, the website, Invest Like a Billionaire. Any other spots that people can learn more about you? I highly recommend get the book, Invest Like a Billionaire, and the book, Kingdom Horizon. Any other things?
That's
That's
it.
it? Okay.
That's it.
Bob, thank you so much. I am so grateful for you being you and for being willing to share it with us.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to you and your family. And yeah, I just am so grateful. So thank you so much for all that you do and will continue to do.
Merry Christmas to you. And may every listener just have the most amazing holiday season and the most amazing 2026 ever.
Yes.
And so good to be here with you.
All right, my friend. Until next time. I know, right? So good. So good. There's so many things. I've got so many notes sitting here. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this. But if there was one thing I was going to peel away from this and I was going to go take into my everyday life that I'm going to, is this idea around observing. I mean, it hit me so hard. What am I observing? I want to make that a question I just ask in my head on a regular basis. Right now, what am I choosing to see? What am I choosing to observe? And then when I observe this, am I going and creating negativity somewhere else, or am I going to the source? Am I calling up? Am I speaking life? Am I blessing? Like, how cool is that blessing that Bob said over us? My friend, this is an important topic. Share it with a friend. Shoot a friend a text with the link. Hey, check out this podcast. I think you'd love this episode. It's massive. Honor the work. You heard Bob's passion. It's not about how many books he sells, but I mean, go order these 2 books. These are things that you can meditate on, wrestle with, think through, but don't do it alone. Do it with a friend, do it with one of your kids, do it with your teenager, your college age, your adult. These are important opportunities for us. All right, my friends, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to Fatherhood Field Notes. What you do matters. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. That's who your kids, spouse, and community needs. This is your guide, Ned Shout. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact, and let's create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. I look forward to hanging out with you next time. Go to Amazon right now, order Invest Like a Billionaire and order Kingdom Horizon, both by Bob Fraser. Thank you. Look forward to hanging out with you next time.